So my name is Justin O'Sullivan. I'm from PNC Bank. I've worked with PNC Bank going on 5 years now. So a little bit about me and my experience with scams, fraud, things of that nature is I worked here just down the road in the Nags Head branch for 2 years. Then for 2 years, I was working for the card loss prevention, which is things of that nature from just nationwide in terms of helping people with debit card, credit card fraud, scams related to those types of transactions. And now I work in our high-risk customer investigation department. So for quite some time now, I've been helping customers here on the beach as well as nationwide with avoiding scams, assistance with scams. And I just want to make sure everyone can hear me well before I get into the real important information. All right, so first up, we have some signs of a scam. I'm sure if some other previous people will have spoken about this. Let's see if I can turn this up a little. Okay. Signs of a scam. If other people have spoken to you today, I'm sure it's a lot of going to be some similar information, but that way, hopefully, you know it's accurate, true information. A lot of times they'll try to say they're from a group that you know, companies you know, Amazon, Walmart, sometimes the bank. They'll usually go for the biggest ones, Chase, things of that nature. That way, it makes you think you have your guard down. That's the biggest thing with these is keeping your guard up. And if they get your guard down, it gets that little voice in the back of your head, which I'm going to talk about a lot because a lot of people will have that. And pretty much everything when a scammer, what they're trying to do is get you to ignore that and listen to them. Oftentimes they'll talk about a problem or a prize that applies to you specifically. Usually if you're getting a cold call like that, they'll say, you won something or this specific, with your account has this problem, your relationship with us, your order wasn't delivered, isn't going to the right address, things of that nature. That way, again, it tries to get your guard down so that you think, oh, this is me specific. This isn't just someone calling, trying to make a sale, something along those lines. They'll want you to act fast, again, so that your gut instinct isn't telling you. They'll get you to act fast so that you can just go right now, or else they're going to call someone else for this prize, with this opportunity. And they'll want you to pay in a specific way. Typically, the easiest way for them to get that money and make it hard for the banks or law enforcement, things of that nature, to try to get that money back to you. Preferred payment methods are cryptocurrency, Western Union transfers, sometimes bank transfers, and gift cards. I'll go into a little more detail about gift cards later. But those are definitely the biggest ones to look out for. Even if everything else sounds right, if someone's telling you to pay with a gift card, like to go down to Harris Teeter Food Line and get one of those Visa gift cards or eBay gift cards to make a purchase, it's going to be a scam. I'd say 99 times out of 100, maybe even all 100 times. A couple key sayings to look out for: act now, only say what I tell you to say. That's a big one as well. Coaching, they'll try to tell you, say it's like a cash or a wire transfer, something of that nature. Well, you'll need to go to the bank. They'll try to tell you exactly what to say to, one, make sure you get it done properly. But then two, because as a bank, we're trained on things to look out for, things that seem out of your nature. Obviously, it's not every day that you maybe go down to the bank and send your whole savings account in a wire transfer. So if that's the case, we'll look out for that, but they'll try to coach you on what to say so that you can still get by their first line of defense. Don't hang up. That's a big one. As someone I would have to sometimes call people. We would see unusual activity on their accounts or their credit cards, things of that nature, and we'll call them. And I'll introduce myself. I'm Justin from PNC Card Loss Prevention. I wanted to verify some recent activity on your account. I was legitimately from the bank calling. If a person wasn't comfortable, didn't like me, didn't want to speak to me about it, they had their guard up, I would never tell them, don't hang up. I would say, if you're not comfortable with that, you can call your local branch. You can call the number on the back of your card. That way, you're speaking with PNC directly, and they can assist you from there. It's not like only me and all of PNC can solve that specific issue. However, that scammer, sometimes they're just themselves working, sometimes like a small group. Obviously, if you call the number on the back of your card, you'll get to your real bank, and that won't help them with their goals. buy gift cards and then withdraw cash and then follow on instructions on what to do with it. Really, there should be almost no reason for most legitimate things, especially when it's someone calling from saying they're Walmart, Amazon, that you wouldn't be able to do it with whatever way you feel most comfortable making that transaction. However, if you do it in cash, obviously there's not that paper trail any longer, a little harder to get that money back. Because the transaction we're able to see is you went to the branch, withdrew $1,000, let's say. At that point, the paper trail ends and we see, yes, that was you doing that. Whereas if you do it with your card, there's a whole lot more information we can see of who's receiving that and try to get that money returned to you. A lot of what I say, as I said, I do work for PNC. However, these policies, a lot of it is nationally driven in terms of from the federal government. So pretty much almost everything I'm going to inform you on, you don't have to be a PNC customer for this to apply to you in your accounts. There's a lot of overlap as long as you're banking at a bank in the United States. 3 common scam types I wanted to address today was phishing, romance scam, and remote job scams. First up is phishing. What this is, we live at the beach, probably have some good experience with what actual phishing is. Sometimes you just go out there, you throw your line out, and you're kind of hoping for the best. And that's pretty much what's going on with these scammers as well. By definition, it's the fraudulent practice of sending emails or other messages from reputable companies to induce people to reveal personal information. But pretty much is what that is they're sending out emails, calls, texts, things of that nature to get you to click a link, get you to respond, get you to bite the line, bite the hook. That way they can try and get some more information from you or money from you. Best practices, if you're concerned about that, and verifying the sender. Look for vague wording. Again, they're going to be have links. They're going to have things that kind of can apply. They're going to make it seem like it applies to you, but really it can apply to anybody. Like they'll say your checking account, whereas a lot of banks have specific kind of their own names for their account type. Whereas these people don't know that. They might just say, your account, your savings account. Whereas you might know it's a, certificate of deposit, something you have specifically. One thing you can look out for if you do receive emails like this, without actually clicking anything, you can highlight over the sender of it, and you can see some more information. They'll say they're coming from PNC. In my case, my email is justinosullivan@pnc.com. And if you have a really common name, you might have a couple numbers after it, but it's always from @pnc.com. It's always pretty much just the name that they're sending. Whereas if you look and you see it's, whatever name at Gmail, that's probably not what someone from Amazon or someone's going to contact you with. Again, a big one, it may seem obvious, but also in the time you get those emails and you're kind of, everything's firing at once, but stop and think, do you even have a relationship with this company? Sometimes they'll pick the biggest one, Chase, if someone opened a credit card in your account, your name at Chase, they'll just send you an email saying, and think, do you have an email or do you have any relationship at all with Chase? Why would Chase even have your email to follow up with this? What are the odds if someone did open it in your name, they also have your exact email address and how to contact you? And then grammar and spelling mistakes, surprisingly to me, is because it seems like the easiest thing to fix if you are going to try and be a scammer, but all the time, misspelled words, things that don't quite make sense that you might overlook if it's your friend emailing you, but there's probably so many checks and balances these big companies have to go through when they're sending, customer-facing information that those kind of errors should be caught, and it's probably a sign it's not really coming from them. Here I have just a pretty basic, I'm not sure if everyone has the ability to see it, but it's a fake email from a scammer. Dear valued customer at Trusted Bank. Again, possible they would say that, but it's not personalized to you. Doesn't have your name. We received spelled incorrectly. Notice that you may have recently attempted to withdraw the following amount from your checking account while in another country. It's $135.25. Again, no specific information. Doesn't say what country. Doesn't say any follow-on information. If this is not correct, someone unknown may have access to your account. As a safety measure, please visit our website via the link below to verify your personal information. And it's just a plain link. Unfortunately, you can't highlight over this and see. You can see maybe it would even bring you to a different location that it's saying. And then since you've done this, our fraud department will work to resolve this discrepancy, we're happy you have chosen us to do business with. Thank you, Trusted Bank. For me personally, anything I send an email out for a customer, it's from me specifically. I don't just say it's from PNC Bank. Again, there's errors throughout this. There's things, just blatant speak. Again, if you're not expecting it, you check your emails in the morning at breakfast, something. This may seem like, something, especially if you do have a relationship with this bank in particular. But again, if you take that step back, don't act quickly, don't click the link right away. You can even pull up your account if you use online banking, something to see your information from home. You can see if they're saying that $135 was taken out, it would show in your bank. If that's not there, it's probably not legitimately a transaction that was done. Moving on to romance scams. Pretty much this is a three-part scam. Unfortunately, it can be, it's not so simple. There's been romance scams that happen, they're years long at a time before even any money can be sent out. But a lot of times it's you match with somebody through a social media app or a dating site, something along those lines. We've got Tinder, Facebook, Bumble, Match.com, anything of that line. After you get some level of trust, they start asking for money. Usually it's a bad sign. I would say, generally speaking, if you're talking to someone, you're in that talking stage still, and they're already asking for money, like even if it's not a scammer, it may not be the best relationship. But in some of these situations, it also can be a scammer, in which case, and if you think about it, it may seem kind of far-fetched for somebody to spend months at a time pretending to just be your, online boyfriend, online girlfriend. But I mean, depending on how much time they're spending and if they can get that good amount of money from you, and it only takes, a couple minutes at a time to send these messages, they could be doing this to so many people at a time that it can be a pretty, unfortunately lucrative business for them. So a lot of times you can do certain back searches, image searches online. Sometimes they'll just go online and search up like a person, like a description, and use that image for their picture, their profile on these websites. Sometimes you can do that, or if someone maybe more tech savvy can also assist you with that in terms of just image searching to see if this is just stock footage of some model somewhere. That's a pretty big red flag in that situation as well. And then step 3 is just repeat step 2 to keep getting more money, or just move on to a new victim if the wells run dry. Big signs of it. I kind of talked about, don't transfer them. Our best practices, don't transfer them the money. Google them or their job. You can look up John Smith says he's out of work fisherman or something in this area. And you can look and see people have posted online, posted like a review, said, they got scammed or someone tried to scam them with that story. Because it's a lot easier to obviously memorize just one fake story if you're trying to do these kind of scams to people. So you may see some habits, some additional things that you're noticing. Report them. Biggest thing is fraud.ftc.gov. And you can also report it to the social network you're using. But fraud.ftc.gov, that's the Federal Trade Commission. They're your law enforcement, the top kind of dogs in the nation in terms of monitoring these kind of things. Anything we do also gets reported, like PNC, gets reported also to the Federal Trade Commission whenever we have things of this nature. But that's going to be, there's just like a wealth of information on that. It's ftc.gov, and they have handouts, breakdowns, all the information you could possibly ever want on these kind of things, as well as ways to report it if you do find yourself either falling victim to it or a potential victim for it. A couple things to just look out for is they're instantly in love with you. Obviously, we're all, for the most part, I believe, adults here, and we know sometimes these things take time. It's usually not, one conversation, and they're in love with you. They want to fly across the country, but they just can't afford it right now, so they want you to send them, a couple $1,000s for their tickets and hotel or whatever. Or immediately they start, coming clean with you. They've got all these gambling or medical debts, and, they do want to be with you, but they need you to help cover it. They try to elicit sympathy from you. They try to, I see their online profile. I kind of mentioned that it looks like a glamour shot rather than just a legitimate picture. But those are the things to kind of look out for in terms of you match with somebody on a social media site. Then remote job scam practices. Unfortunately, like I have my information on like LinkedIn and Indeed, I believe. So I get emails from these kind of things a lot. But it's pretty much just, they're looking, it sounds like ever since COVID, everything got shut down. It sounds like, dream work. You get to work from home. You could be in your pajamas getting paid, X amount a year. So living comfortable, get to hang out. Don't have to deal with like at least in person, nagging boss, whatever your complaints may be in work. It seems like the dream job. Unfortunately, sometimes this is a scam, and people, again, Google the company if you want to like look out for it. Again, they'll use the same information that they use with other people. Sometimes people will just, even in the weirdest places, post online, reviews or online complaints about it. And then unfortunately, you'll see things of people complaining about getting fake checks or employees not getting paid. I believe typically what I think I go on to this a little bit more later, but one of the things that look out for with this is they'll give you your paycheck. A lot of times it'll be like taxes weren't taken out of it, or we accidentally overpaid you. So you send some of this money back. You send the money back and then that check bounces and now you're out. They have the money that you sent because that's going to come out of your already saved money or accumulated money. And now that check's no good and your account's, say $2,000 in the hole, whatever the first check may have been. $10 billion. So that's the amount of money lost in scams in 2023. And then people the age group 70 or older have been the ones that lost the most money. They're not the ones that are the most targeted by the scams. I believe that is like 20 to 40. But in terms of, I know for me, when I was in my 20s, I didn't matter if I got scammed. I didn't have that much money to give. Whereas in that 70 and older group, they've got more savings, more people. So they contribute the most financially to it. But I mean, if you're ever kind of thinking like, why do these people do that? Why don't they just get like a real job? I mean, if you look at it, like $10 billion in 1 year, that's like, obviously if scam was a company, it'd be like a Fortune 500 company. It'd be turning over insane profits every year. Other useful information, imposter scams. Those are the ones that people saying they're one person, but they're not. That's the most common by far. Cryptocurrency is at an all-time high. Obviously, that's probably going to be true for every year for a couple years since cryptocurrency is so new. And then free trial merchants, where they claim, you're just, again, not exactly the same thing as a scam, but it is obviously something you don't want to be giving your money to 90% of the time. Where it's, you sign up for a free trial or you pay for shipping on something that you like won a prize like that. A lot of times hide things in the fine print that you're actually signing up for additional things, trials of that nature. Sorry, that's my alarm. Yeah, but that, again, my personal experience, for the 2 years I was doing the debit and credit card related fraud, I'd say I talked to 20 people a day probably that were having issues, and that's just me. 20 people every day for 2 years. They're having issues with free trial merchants that they, unknowingly signed up for or thought they were signing up for one thing, and it included now $39 every month for, happening for years, and that money adds up. Again, a lot of times all those people, not all, but the majority of them, they say after I tell them, oh yeah, that's like, common practice. We can try and get you that money back. Let's try and get that canceled. They say, I knew it was too good to be true, but, I really wanted it because it was something that they were interested in. I know like air fryers, they're always a big one. It's like, just pay for the shipping on it. You won this air fryer. But yeah, then, in the back of again, it always goes back to that voice in the back of your head telling you, something's off with this, something's wrong. And if you do listen to it, you may have missed out on that opportunity for the air fryer if it is true, but a lot of times you'll save yourself some money in the long run. And then the biggest thing for me, especially working at the branch, it's not embarrassing to be the victim of a scam. These people, they do this for a living. A lot of the times, they're trying to get that money from you because it's more profitable for them than it is to work a full-time job for that entire year. So if you think how good you are at your full-time job after you've done it for years, this is how good those people are at their scams, and, getting people to sign over their money. So it's not embarrassing to be a victim. Make sure that doesn't prevent you from going to law enforcement or your bank or whatever to try and get that money returned to you. And then if you do take away only one thing from this, if someone's telling you to pay you in gift cards, it's a scam. The amount of times that people come because they need to get $3,000 out from the branch because they found this card deal they're going to buy on eBay or something that they just need to pay in gift cards is, we try to talk those people down from going to do that. But what happens is you take a picture of the gift card after you used it. They get the number off the back. That money's gone off the gift card in less than 5 seconds. And then, in terms of, we talked about that paper trail, it ends with you buying that gift card at, let's say Harris Teeter, and it becomes so much harder to get that money returned to you. So it's just best, and especially in gift card situations, to just not bother from the start. If you want to get a family member a gift card, this isn't what I'm talking about. If someone tells you you can only pay with a gift card, though, I would just, hang up on my call or whoever it may be. This is my information. I'm here from PNC, but I'm also here with the Dare County Veteran Advisory Council. So that's actually my Dare County Veteran Advisory Council email. If you do have anything related to the council or to, further questions, if you want a copy of the slides, I can send anything out. I'd be more than happy to assist you with that. Again, my name was Justin O'Sullivan, and I do thank you for listening to me today. But do you have any questions before I go?
I have a question.
I think that's it. Yes.
On credit cards, I used my credit card to pay for a dinner one night and American Express. And when I got home that evening, the next morning I went online and I looked at my credit card to make sure it posted. But I noticed not only did the restaurant charge me for the dinner for my family, there was also, at that, 10 minutes later, a amount like 97 cents from the 7-Eleven. So I felt like somebody in that restaurant had stolen my credit card number and was using it just to see if they were going to be able to use it again to buy something larger, right, than 97 cents,
Right.
And so I called my bank, and they shut my card down, and FedEx me a new card. But does that happen a lot? Because that's the second time in 2 years that's happened on my American Express.
So 2 things. Did everyone hear the question? Yeah. Okay. So 2 things I would say in terms of that is, one, it's definitely possible. If someone was just trying to test it, getting something, whatever it may be, you can buy these days for 97 cents at 7-Eleven.
Candy bar.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, it is possible they were kind of testing it out. Unfortunately, in those situations, when you paid, did you pay at the table, or did you put it in the check and give it away?
And he took it in the back.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's just one of those, those things where if, I don't want to say it was any specific, the waiter or whoever, but when the card's not in your hands, it does have that obviously risk of someone just copying the number down. Or, you can add it to a mobile wallet, something like that. It is also possible. I know sometimes if some 7-Elevens can do gas, sometimes when you first swipe it, it just runs as a hold amount and then adds later. So it could have been something like that. Best case scenario though, is if you do see anything, it's always good. I work for the bank, so it's really easy for me just to pull it up but it's a best practice if you can check. Some people do it every morning at breakfast to check your account history, check, what's happened since the last time you used it. That way you can be right away on top of those. Because if someone is testing it and then they have that big, spending spree planned for the weekend because the card worked, you prevented that from happening. And also, a little bit kind of my PNC hat here is in terms of credit cards. A lot of times we kind of preach, obviously it's good for the banks. If you have a credit card, I'll be, forthcoming with that. It's better because it's a sale for them. But what I will say, the benefit of credit cards, which is my favorite thing about them, is if your card does get compromised, someone has your card information, technically they're spending the bank's money in that situation. So, your mortgage, whatever it may be that's coming out of your account at the end of the month, if you'd use a debit card while we're trying to investigate that money, get it returned to you, there could be a hold up, that you have to, be late, contact your bill company or pay a different way. Whereas with that, if it's at least a credit card, the biggest thing you're out of personally is that card until it gets mailed back out. So I do think kind of in terms of everything you did, I think that's the best practice, calling your bank as soon as you see it, bring it to their attention, and then get that card replaced.
But is that happening a lot?
It's happening, yeah. I'd say it happens, it's a pretty common. People like debit and credit cards. Unfortunately, they're the easiest things to copy as opposed to like bank and routing, like getting fake checks, things of that nature. And they're in real time, they process, so they're probably the easiest or most lucrative thing to target. But yeah, I mean, that's why, I can just speak for PNC's side of things. It's a pretty big department, our card loss prevention department, which all they do is investigate debit and credit card claims like that. Yes, question in the back.
We're always told not to answer any questions or click on anything on these suspicious messages. What about messages that we get from people who are advertising their business or trying to give you investment advice? Now, most of those come with the ability to unsubscribe. Can I get in trouble by hitting on unsubscribe if it's a fake thing and they're just trying to get me to hit on a button? Does that give them access to any of my information if I try to unsubscribe?
It wouldn't give them access to your monetary information. I'm not a computer expert, so I mean, if it were to possibly put you at risk for like a virus, something of that nature, or let someone get into your computer, I'm really not able to speak 100% on that. Your best practice, I know for me, I get text messages from people that, they act like they're texting the wrong, or, hey, we met at the bar or whatever, and they try to get it. I just block them through my phone, don't reply to them at all. Your email, you may have the means to just either have it go straight to the trash or just block the sender from happening. That way you're not clicking anything they send if you are actually concerned about it. Your email provider should have a way to just say if this particular email address emails me again, just auto decline it. I don't want any relationship with them. And that way anything you're clicking is just provided by, for me, I use Gmail. It'd be provided by Google, so it's not coming from that company. Even if it is just a legitimate unsubscribe, you don't want these spam emails anymore. That's going to be your best practice, to just, as long as you're okay with never getting anything from them again, because obviously if it is a local business or something, you may not want to go as drastic of a route. But any other questions? All right. Well, I thank you guys for having me. And again, if you do have any questions, that's my information.